Hockey Talk Show. It's your old pal Ann coming to you live here on Facebook and YouTube with plenty to discuss on the show today. How long is too long to let your prospects go in the American Hockey League after they've been up with your National Hockey League team? A couple of Flames finally get on the board. Sam Bennett, Jaromir Jagr, the Lightning. We talked about how good they were yesterday. They've gotten even gooder. Even more gooder. And it's an emotional night for Brian Boyle, scoring his first goal after coming back from cancer treatment. We'll get all into that and more right here on the Hockey Talk Show. The phone number is live for you to call in, 631-438-1768. That's 631-438-1768. At Hockey Talk Show on all the social media channels, Facebook, YouTube, of course, Instagram, Twitter, whatever next one they invent, we'll have it there for sure. I promise you. Links to all this info, including our Facebook and YouTube channels, up there at hockeytalkshow.com. Welcome into the program on this, a very, very chilly Friday in Long Island, New York. It was freezing out there today, but the competition on the ice is heating up. Oh, boy. I hate when hockey people say that kind of stuff. The competition's heating up on the ice, though. There's a lot going on. I'm just kind of checking Twitter because things are really sort of developing as we're jumping on the air here. It seems like Vadim Shibashayev's retirement is official. He is back in Russia, no longer property of the Vegas Golden Knights. I had seen something that said that one of the teams was interested in maybe obtaining his rights, but they couldn't figure out what exactly was going to take place between Vegas and that other team. Really, the issue with Shibashayev, surprisingly enough, came from the fact that he had to pay his money back. I don't know if he actually earned a check or what the exact details of it all were. But I know he had gotten somewhere around a $2 million signing bonus, and he essentially had to pay that money back. And he agreed to, like, that was basically it. He agreed to say, all right, I'll give the money back. I just want out. Like, that's how bad it was. And, you know, it's interesting too, because there were a few people, I can't really cite one, what's his name, maybe, but there were a few people that said, look, Vegas, and we addressed this on the show prior, Vegas is putting Shibashayev in the minors to get him disgruntled and to get him to quit so they can nullify his contract, both agree to go their separate ways and move on. And I just thought, that's crazy. I think they're just trying to get him settled in. I think they're just trying to work it out, get him accustomed to things. The theory that was out there, and there were a few people that said this, I think Doug McClain was one of them. You don't put a 30-year-old Russian down in the AHL. This is a guy that has been playing professionally in Russia in the KHL. You don't put him down in the AHL, get him on buses and things like that. Not that the conditions in the AHL are terrible, but when he's a pro, he's 30. He's not a 18-year-old kid from Canada. He's not a 19-year-old kid from, you know, from the States or Sweden or one of these places. You know, here's a guy that was really at the top of his game in his own country. He comes here to a foreign land, can't crack the NHL, and then you send him down, and, you know, he obviously had some issues with that and resisted that, and it's unfortunate. I didn't think that there was an ulterior motive there. There's no way we're ever going to be able to prove the ulterior motive. George McPhee is not going to admit to doing that. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe that wasn't really the case. Maybe he just felt like, look, coach is not going to play him. There's no reason to keep him in the press box for all this time. We'll send him down and we'll get him some ice time, and then we'll see what's what. Maybe that was genuinely his intention, hoping that he'd be able to figure out 2-3 weeks down there, but he just didn't really want to do it. But I thought I saw some footage of him showing up for a practice. That could have been just old Vegas Golden Knights footage, but I thought I saw him show up for a practice, and then he kind of just never really came back again. And Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's a weird situation, but Doug McClain might have been right about that all along. He might have had their number over there in Vegas. That's essentially what he was doing. He was just trying to get Shipachyov to be on his way. We'll never really know. Like I said, it's not like George McPhee is going to admit, oh, yeah, that's exactly what we did. But that is kind of exactly what happened. That's kind of exactly what happened. He didn't want to be down there. And I don't blame him. I don't blame either of them. And that's why they part in the contract, go their separate way. But the fact that he had to pay back $2 million, like how much, like here's a young guy, and he signed in the summertime, right? Here's a young guy in Vegas for like a couple of months. How much of that $2 million was spent? I know me, I'd have went through $1.50 of that already. I'd have been $1.5 million in the hole at the crap stables being like this. There's no, my rear end would have been in Chicago with the Wolves. I'll report. No problem. I'll report. Can't get that money back. If I was Shipachyov, I'd all been like this. You can absolutely have your money back. You can definitely have your money back if you can get it back from the Golden Nugget. If you honestly, I'm all on your side. I'm all on your side, Mr. McPhee. But if you can convince the folks over at the Golden Nugget to give you the money back, I'm not going to stand in your way. I'm not going to stand in your way one bit. You can have all that money back, buddy. You just those pit bosses can be a real, they're sticklers for the rules. Just so you know. So Shipachyov is done. That was the struggle, though. If and the Players Association, from what I understand, actually stepped in on this. And they said, look, hey, if he goes somewhere else, then he doesn't have to pay the money back. And so I'm sure maybe there was some interest from him and his camp, his agent, to pursue that. But at the end of the day, I think Shipachyov just wanted out of North America, just wanted to go home and, go back to what he knew. And, that's exactly how that unfolded. So if that was George McPhee's plan all along, great. It might have just been, hey, that might be a happy... that might not be the intention, but if it happens, whatever. It is whatever. Full slate of action tonight on this Friday, November 10th. Florida and Buffalo, Boston and Toronto tonight, Pittsburgh and Washington. Good to see that going on the NHL Network at 7 o'clock. Carolina and Columbus will play. Should be an easy one for the Columbus Blue Jackets. Islanders and Dallas. I'm looking forward to seeing this one. Here's a couple of potential wild card matchups in the East and the West that could be playing each other. These are similarly built teams. Great forwards in Jamie Benn and John Tavares. Kind of middle of the way goaltending. Ben Bishop hasn't been the player he was. We'll see if he can get back to form. I don't know if it's Halak or Grice tonight. I thought I saw Halak going. So that should be a good one. And Winnipeg and the Vegas Golden Knights without Shipachyov will be there. And it was Ottawa and Colorado today from the Global Series in the NHL that just became complete, just became a final. I shouldn't say just. It was a little bit while ago. 4-3 Ottawa taking that game in overtime. They'll play one more time tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon if you're watching in the East. 631-438-1768. Join the Hockey Talk Show. You don't have to talk about anything that we just laid out for you, anything you want to discuss. Phone lines are open to you. We just started the show. I'm well aware we're not going to get a whole slew of phone calls, but if you want to call in and join the program, ask a question, propose a scenario, whatever that is, you got the number right there at 631-438-1768. Curry and Jagr right there. Let's talk about Jaromir Jagr. He lit the lamp last night for the first time with the Calgary Flames, and he was not the only one to do so. Sam Bennett, after playing all this time in the National Hockey League, finally gets his first goal. You can see Jaromir Jagr right there. What a great shot that is, courtesy of NHL.com. Look at that beauty right in the net, beating, who is that, Mrazek? Looks like Peter Mrazek there. First goal with the Calgary Flames. He assisted on another one, 6-3 win over Detroit, or if you're in Canada, I know you guys like to say Detroit, at the Scotiabank Saddledome. Jagr said after the game, of course, any first goal for any team is special, especially in Canada. I can see how much the fans appreciate it. Hockey, how much they love hockey. Since the first day I've signed here, they have been so good to me. I try to play my best. Jagr, 45, is the second leading point scorer in NHL history with 1,918 points, behind Wayne Gretzky at 2,857 points. Damn it, that's a lot of points from 99. Sam Bennett finally getting on the score sheet too. That was well overdue for Sam Bennett. He had gone, I don't even know. Well, where's Calgary? 16 games. So in his 16th game, he finally got a point. I'm not talking about goalless streak, because that can happen to even like really good players. I've seen 20 goal scorers go the first 20 games without even a goal. That's not uncommon, but to not get an assist or a secondary assist on something, I mean, that's just a poor showing for Bennett. But he picked it up a little bit, got the point, which he needed to do. We'll go over to dailyfaceoff.com here. I want to see if Bennett played with Jagr. I believe that's the combination, essentially. I just want to double check to see what those folks have. And yeah, they have Jankowski with Bennett and Jagr on that third line, which like I said early on in the season, I think Jagr can super help the Calgary Flames. It's just, comes down to expectations. He's not going to be a 25, 30 goal scorer. I think he'll net you 15, maybe 20. We already saw this injury here. Took a chunk of his time right off the top already, so he missed a bunch of games there. I don't know if he's going to play the remainder of the season. He's 45 years old. But whatever you can get out of him is whatever you can get out of him. He's going to be a good asset, whereas he's going to be better than a lot of other third line players that are in the league right now. And he's also going to be probably pretty vital on your second power play unit. Don't forget Jagr at 45, even though he's, lost a whole bunch of steps, guy has an amazing ability to hang on to the puck. He never gives it up. No matter how slow he is, he knows how to protect it, knows how to put his body in between the puck and the player who's trying to get the puck from him. He's super smart and skilled when it comes to that. So I suspect that Jaromir Jagr is going to do just fine with the Calgary Flames, putting in his 15 goals or so for this season, granted, if he can stay healthy. Let's move it on over to the Tampa Bay Lightning. How could you not talk about these cats? I mean, they just lit it up once again. 5-2 winners against the Kings. And again, this is not like they're beating up on nobodies here. The Los Angeles Kings are doing outstanding this year. They themselves are off to a spectacular start. I'll go back over to the standings. You can see 11-3 on the year in 16 games. That third loss handed to them by the Tampa Bay Lightning, as the Kucherov and Stamkos connection just continues to be ridiculous. Namestnikov scored his third goal in 2 games. Peter Budaj made 22 saves in his first win for Tampa. So, I mean, you just got to look at the pure skill and confidence right now of the Tampa Bay Lightning to roll into a game with an 11-2 team and be all like, we'll play Peter Budaj, it'll be fine. No worries here. And no worries indeed. They put 4 in the first period against Jonathan Quick, who's having a hell of a good year himself. I mean, this Tampa Bay Lightning team, Jesus, they are amazing. They are amazing. They're one of my favorite teams to watch. I've been keeping my eye on them more. I don't have the super duper NHL package where you can watch every game. I watch my local games. I watch the NBC games, and I watch the NHL Network games when they're on. But if all things are equal and I have a chance to watch any team in the league or the Tampa Bay Lightning, I'm going with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I just am. They're just so much fun to watch. Especially this first unit. Stamkos has just become this wonderful playmaker. Kucherov has 16 goals now. Is that 17 games for Tampa? It must be, right? I think the count is 17 games for Tampa. 17 games for Tampa. Guy's got 16 goals in 17 games. I mean, just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Unbelievable. Stamkos also scored. So did Victor Hedman and Alex Killorn. You know, that's the difference. You got good goaltending. You got an amazing first line, a great second line. Again, I mentioned this yesterday. Tyler Johnson's on your third line. That just goes to show you how good this team is built right now. And you're getting help from the back end. Victor Hedman putting pucks in the net. And that's not really what you even really need him for. He's got a great shot. He's going to help you on the power play like a Drew Doughty. But the guy could just flat out move the puck up ice. You know, it's interesting. I look at what Toronto did at the beginning of the season. They basically couldn't lose a game. They were giving up a whole hell of scoring opportunities, but they were scoring they were winning games by scoring 6 goals. And that's what the Tampa Bay Lightning are doing. At some point, Mike Babcock got scared and pulled back on the horses a little bit, and they've become a lot more offensively conservative. They're worried about defense a lot more. And I just don't think you want to let, you know, William Nylander and Austin Matthews and Patrick Marleau. I don't think you want to restrict these guys, but that's what Babcock is doing right now. I just think there's far too many talking heads in Toronto to let them freely run this organization. Not that I think that Babcock really takes too much from the outside and let it influence his coaching, but I think it's a case where no coach wants to give away a ton of offensive opportunities. I think they really see that as a point of pride. You know, they want to be tough teams to play against. I think a coach would rather win a game 2-1 and limit the offensive scoring chances than win a game 6-4, you know what I mean, and have a whole bunch of scoring chances against them, have a whole bunch of times where you should have gotten scored on, but your goalie maybe stole one for you. I think that coaches hate that. I think a coach's mentality in this league, in this day and age, I think they think that limited scoring chances means they're doing their job. If their team is running wild and giving away 3-4 goals a night, but they're still winning, I think that they view that in their mind as they're not doing their job. They're not preparing their team for the game. But I honestly think that's the biggest misstep in the National Hockey League today. No doubt in my mind. That's the biggest mistake in the National Hockey League today. If you got guys that can roll, if you got guys that can score, let them go, man. Let them go. You got a stallion in your barn, let that stallion run wild. You've got to. Don't restrict them. Look, if you start losing games 7-6, if you start losing games 5-4, then make some changes. But in the case of the Toronto Maple Leafs, they were winning. They were rolling. They were doing super well. And I just think that all the chatter finally got to Mike Babcock. Again, I don't think you're going to get Mike Babcock to do too much. But when he feels a certain way internally and he picks up the paper or he walks by, because believe me, especially in Toronto, man, it is everywhere. I was in Toronto. I got off the plane going to Toronto and the baggage handlers were talking hockey. The ticket counter people were talking hockey. The cab drivers were listening to sports. Like, you can't avoid it. You're going to hear it. Even if you walk through the city with your fingers in your ears like this, going blah, 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 you're going to see it, man. You're going to see it at some point. Kind of like how they have the tickers going in Times Square with all the news in it. That's how they got tickers over there just talking about what Mike Babcock is doing. So you can't avoid it. But I think if he's thinking of it internally and then he goes out in the world and he sees it, I think something like that, although as small as it could be, will affect Mike Babcock. And that's why I think he pulled back the reins on the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I think it's affected them a little bit. They're 4-6 in their last 10 games. They're still second in their in the Atlantic. You know, they're still second, but they've played 3 more games than Ottawa, and they only have 3 more points. They've played 2 more games than the Islanders, and they only have 2 more points. And they played 1 more game than the Flyers, and again, 2 more points. So I think that Toronto should go back to whenever Austin Matthews comes back. Because look, when you lose in Austin Matthews and you want to change things up and defensively tighten it up, I totally get it. when Austin comes back, if he wants to run with the boys, let him run, man. Let him run. You're better off. I'm telling you, you're better off. Coaches have a bad. I've been saying this a bunch. The tide is turning in the National Hockey League, and you're seeing it with the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, it's not like they give up a whole bunch of chances. They don't give up as many chances as Toronto, but they have a much better defense than Toronto. Strawman and Sergachev and Hedman, like their defense is just way better. So that's probably why. That's probably a big part of it. But this feeling of we have to be super defensively responsible in the National Hockey League, times have changed, man. Times have changed. It's just not like that anymore. It's just not like that anymore. It's like, it's funny on my morning show on the radio here in Long Island, I've been making jokes about Amazon, how they're kind of taking over the world. For the longest time, even my wife and I, we kind of resisted the Amazon thing. Next thing you know, we're watching The Man in the High Castle, ordering up our diapers and our paper towels. Like we're all in. We're all in now. We're just sitting there going, why did we resist this for so long? I don't think the National Hockey League should resist it. Look, if you're a team that struggles to score, then yeah, you got to focus on defense. But if you got the horses, let them run. You're going to be better off. Tampa Bay is the total embodiment of that. And all the rest of the teams are sitting there going, man, well, I don't, Stamkos and Kucherov and all that. No, I know it's true. They're incredibly talented players, but they have zero restrictions on them. They're going because they have nothing to worry about. They can lax on D a little bit. Also doesn't hurt that Stamkos in the back of his mind can think, I can take a chance in this because I know 77's back there and he's not going to let anybody buy him. So that's another part. I'm not saying you don't have to be built for it. I'm not saying you don't have to have the Stamkos type skill. It all counts. It all matters. But Tampa has recognized the type of team that they are, and they're playing to their strengths, which is all out, balls to the wall offense. And we see that when they can put 4 goals in the first period up on the board against one of the great teams in the league right now. I mean, it's only Tampa, St. Louis, and the Kings. There's your top 3 right there. And the Tampa Bay Lightning handled the Los Angeles Kings like they were the Montreal Canadiens last night. I mean, it was just they weren't in it at all at any point. No point whatsoever were they a consideration. Hockey Fights Cancer Month here in the National Hockey League. 631-438-1768 to join in on the Hockey Talk Show. Anything you want to talk about, open phones, and they will continue to be every time we do a show live here. And we are live right now on Facebook and YouTube. 631-438-1768. Of course, you can always send us a tweet or shoot us a message on Instagram. We take those too. At Hockey Talk Show there. We are at Hockey Talk Show there. It's Hockey Fights Cancer Month, and Brian Boyle is in, or was in one hell of a fight. Still, obviously, going to be dealing with what comes with cancer, but he's been dealing with a form of leukemia. 5th game back since returning to the game here, and finally put one in the net. That must have felt really good, courtesy of NHL.com. Let's take a listen to Brian Boyle with Deb Placey after the game. Again, NHL.com and the MSG networks.
Yeah, I've never cried after a goal before, and it's a lot. It's everything. It's everything I talked to Sal about before the game. These guys, my wife, my kids, they've been through a lot too, and my parents, my siblings. It's a good feeling. Let's hope we stand up and make it count tonight.
There you go. Actually, I think that was in the middle of one of the periods, if I'm not mistaken. That might have not have been post game. That was in the middle of one of the periods, but it's good to see Brian Boyle come back talking about, never really felt the need to cry after a goal before, but he had that feeling with that one. Anybody who knows anybody who's had to deal with any type of cancer, you know how tough it could be on a person, but not just a person, their families, their loved ones. In the case of Brian Boyle, fans, teammates, coworkers and all that. So to have that moment where you get back in, You get a game under your belt, feels good. Start getting your legs under your belt. Then you think, I got to get playing better. And then you start playing better. And then eventually you get rewarded. And it was a good effort. He had a shot. Then there was a save. He came in on the rebound and he made it happen, put it in the net, and really helped the Devils out there in their game last night. Fifth game back. That's not bad. It's not bad. Now, the Devils lost in overtime to the Edmonton Oilers 3-2, but still, his efforts helped the Devils get a point, which is just tremendous for Brian Boyle and the New Jersey Devils. Edmonton Oilers, they have called up their prospect, Puljujarvi. He's coming back up, which is a great thing to see if you're the Edmonton Oilers. I've been talking about this, and it makes me pose the question here, and that's, how long do you keep your younger guys down in the minors? How long can you do that until it becomes not helpful? How long could you let them go down there for, and, not, I don't want to say rot, but how long can you let them go down there before you're no longer helping them? It's not uncommon. I have heard scouts before say, the minor leagues don't really help you all that much. And it's definitely the case with a certain type of player that struggles here to start the season. The question has been for quite a while, how long until Jesse Puljujarvi comes up? Because it was either make a trade or make a call up. Those are really your two options. There's no great prized free agents in the National Hockey League pool right now. And you had to wonder what Peter Chiarelli was going to do over there in Edmonton. And they've officially called up Puljujarvi. They sent down the other young kid, Comia, whatever it was. I don't know. He had been laying a goose egg. Since he started the season. Came up and had a great Yamamoto. I forget what his name was. He had a great camp, and then he comes up and just lays goose eggs in the season. So he's finally gone. And Jesse Puljujarvi called up after just, not really having all that great of a time in the American Hockey League. And that's the thing. Like, it shouldn't really be a judgment, how well you do, because certain players just aren't going to respond well. Like a kid like this, he might be down there thinking, I know I'm coming back up. It's just a matter of time, and it's not about him being lazy or anything. It just might be the type of player that he is. He may need that challenge to get motivated, to be in there each and every single shift. It's hard to do that in the AHL sometimes for some of these players. But Puljujarvi is coming back up for Edmonton as they continue to try and crawl out of the basement themselves. In their last 10 right now, they're 5-4-1, so it is a slight improvement. But when you look at the standings, they're still just ahead of the Arizona Coyotes. They're behind Minnesota, Chicago, Dallas, Colorado, and San Jose, who are behind Anaheim and Calgary in a wild card spot. So it's going to be a long crawl for the Edmonton Oilers. But they're doing, they beat the Islanders in overtime. They beat the Devils in overtime. They'll have the Rangers tomorrow afternoon. Could be a really successful trip for them if they come out of this with 3 straight victories. And we know the Rangers have had their struggles, but again, they've won 5 in a row, so they're going to be a tough team to play against. They're feeling really, really confident. And the confidence of the Edmonton Oilers, not so much. But let's see what Puljujarvi does. I'll be interested to see where he plays. They don't have him in the daily faceoff there. They don't have him lined up for a spot just yet. But if you're curious, dailyfaceoff.com does a tremendous job at keeping track of the starting lineups and the power play units for each and every single team. They update them as much as they can. So that brings me to my next question, and I've been talking about this a bunch, but you talk about Jesse Puljujarvi being down there in the minors, and Joshua Hosang now has been with the Bridgeport Sound Tigers for 2 weeks. Nikolai Kulemin was put on injured reserve. Everybody thought the Islanders were going to recall somebody on Wednesday for the trip that they'll start tonight in Dallas, and they haven't. They're going with literally just 12 forwards on their roster. They've carried 23 players with them since the year started. Alan Quine draws back in, which means they just have a few extra defensemen Thomas Hickey being one of them, and Doug Waite saying, oh, well, we can just play Thomas Hickey on forward if we need to one night. I guess so. I guess that works. If you have a last minute injury and you got to plug somebody into the lineup, then you could make sure that Pellick is in there or Pulak is in there, or Seidenberg is in there on defense, and then move Thomas Hickey up to forward. Hickey's played forward for the Islanders in the past. It was more of an emergency sort of situation, though. But how long are you going to let Joshua Hosang go in the minors? I realize we just talked about this a couple nights ago, but I mean, with the injury to Nikolai Kulemin, it bears repeating. How long are you going to let this kid go in the minors? He's had a point per game since he's been down there. What's he learning? What's he figuring out down there that he can't do and contribute to with the New York Islanders? Now, I know what you're saying. Well, he's got to learn to shorten his shifts, and he's got to learn his defensive responsibilities. He's got to learn how to tear the puck up the ice. He's got to learn. Does he learn that in the American Hockey League better than he learns it in the National Hockey League? Again, some players just don't respond to the American Hockey League. You look at Puljujarvi. I'm not saying the guy's a guarantee to go on there and score a ton now, but what was he doing in the American Hockey League? Going through the motions. What's Joshua Hosang doing in the American Hockey League? He's got a point a game, but I mean, honestly, if you've seen the way this kid plays, he's ready for the NHL. He's rotting down there in the American Hockey League. Enough is enough already. I don't know if we're teaching lessons or if we're just seeing how long he can contain himself, or I don't know what we're doing, but we're frustrating the hell out of me. That's for damn sure. And again, I'm not one of these guys that sits here and gets angry on Twitter every 5 minutes every time a manager or a coach makes a move. And I am one of the rare people that think that Garth Snow has done a fairly decent job. He's done a really good job up until the last year and a half or so. He's made some blunders. I don't want to argue about Garth Snow's career right now. He's definitely had some issues, but he's also had some great deals. He's also had some incredible finds. Thomas Greiss giving him more time to play. Matthew Barzal would be the latest one in this long line of gambles that he's taken on players or picks, or he's taken mistakes like a Griffin Reinhart, made a trade. That pick, who is that? Matthew Barzal. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the guy's perfect. I'm not saying he hasn't tripped up, but he's done a good job covering up his mistakes and making the best out of not the best situation. In this particular case, just like waiting too long to fire Capuano, just like making the mistake of trading Matt Molson in October, which the team never fully recovered from, he's making a mistake by leaving Joshua Hosang down there in the minors. God love you, if somebody gets hurt in the first 3-4 minutes of the game and now you're playing with 11 forwards for the rest of the way and then you're not going to call them up for the next game, what are we doing? We teaching Joshua Hosang a lesson here? Is he learning the lesson? Is he taking this in? Is he understanding the dynamics of the situation? I think he knows who's boss. I think he knows he's got to listen to Doug Waite if he wants to get the ice time. But I look at the Islanders, who damn sure could have won that game against the Edmonton Oilers, and they blew it. And they only put 2 on the board. You want to be a more dynamic offensive team, which the Islanders desperately need to, because let's be honest, outside of John Tavares, it's tough to find scoring on this team. Now, Ladd was supposed to be that guy. I give him a pass for the first year here. This is his second year. Hopefully it's better. Eberle is kind of doing his thing. Eberle and Barzal seem to be a nice little pair together. Anthony Beauvillier has cooled down. Andrew Ladd is not all that, up. Brock Nelson, who started off with a good chunk of the year looking pretty good, at this point, still got 5 goals in 15 games or so. So he's kind of cooled down a little bit. All your guys are cooling down a little bit. On top of just having Hosang there and being able to help, I like the pressure that Joshua Hosang puts on Anthony Beauvillier and Matthew Barzal. Well, let's be honest, Barzal's not coming out of the lineup now, but you know, some of those guys that have the potential of being scratched, like just the mere fact of having a 13th forward, no matter who it is in the lineup, helps. You know, if it's Alan Quine as your 13th forward, I don't think that Anthony Beauvillier or Jason Chimera or so on and so forth is going to be as worried. But if it's Josh Hosang breathing down your neck, well, that's a different story. 631-438-1768. Call into the Hockey Talk Show. We're going to be wrapping it up, so if you want to grab a call in here, shoot it over quickly at 631-438-17 right now. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. You know, they're doing just fine. I'm just going over here to take a look at Jamie Benn's numbers. He's got 8 goals and 7 assists, 15 points in 15 games. Tyler Seguin, 15 points in 15 games. Same stats, 8 and 7. John Klingberg, 3 goals, 12 assists. Alexander Radulov has picked it up after a little bit of a slow start there. 5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points in 15 games. Matthias Janmark, 3 and 5, 8 points in 15. Radek Faksa, 7 points in 14 games. Devon Shore, Lindell, John, so on and so forth. All looking okay. Hamuse should be a little bit better. Spezza, only 5 assists. Martin Hansel's only got a goal in 12 games. So they got some guys that are struggling, but let's be honest with each other. The Islanders are going to be in a tough matchup here tonight. They got to figure out a way to score goals and win this game because Dallas certainly doesn't give up a ton of goals. Kerry Lettinen is sitting with a 2.4 goals against average right now. He's got 2 wins and 3 losses, 914 save percentage in 12 games. Ben Bishop is 6-4, 2.71. So you need to score 3 goals, 4 goals in order to beat this team. You just have to. So the Islanders better be ready to go tonight if they want to have a good shot at grabbing 2 points in Dallas, which they desperately need. Because they got the Islanders have a tough schedule over the next 5 games. Pittsburgh and Washington. Let's talk about this tonight on the NHL Network at 7 o'clock. I think that this is a dire test for the Washington Capitals. Pittsburgh's right where they should be at 9-6. Actually, if you've seen Pittsburgh's goal differential, they are -14. The fact that they're winning games, having given up 14 more goals than they've scored, is kind of amazing. I don't even know how the hell they're doing that. A couple of blowouts was probably part of it. But the Washington Capitals are 8-7. They're 5-5. They're playing like a 500 hockey team. They should be in the mix with Pittsburgh and Columbus. And they're not. Now, I know they were lost a lot on the back end in the offseason and didn't really replace it all that well. Shattenkirk left town for the Rangers. They've had their issues, but you still have Braden Holtby and you still have Alexander Ovechkin. You know, you still have a really decent offense. The Washington Capitals here got to make something happen and soon. They got to get on that little hot streak that we see the New York Rangers on. 5-5 in their last 10. I mean, a 5-game winning streak. 7-2-1 in their last 10. The Caps need to go on a run here. I think that this is a good time. Got Boston tonight. You got to beat Boston. Florida on a Buffalo. You know, it's funny. This morning I played, I got a request on my morning show for Ben Folds 5, Battle of Who Could Care Less. That's what we can nickname this Buffalo and Florida game tonight, the Battle of Who Could Care Less. 4-8 Florida taking on a 5-8 Buffalo Sabre team. How long does Phil Housley get before he takes a bullet for this franchise? He's a new coach. It's 15 games into the year. I don't think Phil Housley's getting fired anytime this year. But when you look at their contracts, we got to bring up Cap. Give me Cap for these Buffalo contracts. 631-438-1768 on the Hockey Talk Show. 631-438-1768. Open phone lines. Anything National Hockey League you want to talk about goes. Sabres got $5 million in cap space. Ryan O'Reilly at $7.5 is locked up till 2023. Boy, this Kyle Okposo contract is going to kill them. $6 million till 2023. Jason Pominville at just over $5.5, and he's locked up this season and next with a no trade, no movement. Evander Kane is a free agent after this year. He's at 5.2. Matt Molson at 5 for the next 2 seasons, including this one. Zemgus Girgensons, $1.5 million. So is John Lawson, Ben Pouliot, and so on and so forth. On defense, Rasmus Ristolainen, $5.4 million. 5.1 for Zach Bogosian. Marco Scandella, $4 million. Josh Georges, $3.9 million. I'll tell you what, man. Ristolainen, Bogosian, Scandella, Georges, that's not a bad top 4. This team should be so much better. All right, now I know Georges is hurt, so is Bogosian, and so is Bellew. So maybe that's the reason for the slow start for the Buffalo Sabres. But this team should just be so much better than they are. I really think the problem with this franchise is the Matt Molson, Kyle Okposo contracts. I just don't think those players are worth that much anymore. I really don't. By the way, Jack Eichel is making $925,000 this year. He'll make $10 million next year. It's crazy. Well deserved. It's crazy to think that somebody is going to get a $9 million raise. An over $9 million raise. I like Jack Eichel. See Jack Eichel as your number 1 center, and I get it. I see Ryan O'Reilly as a really good number 2 center, maybe a left winger, right winger, wherever you want to move him around. He's flexible. I don't see Kyle Okposo as a top 6 forward. He just doesn't really seem to be there for me in big game situations. Jason Pominville is kind of a Band-Aid for the next couple of seasons. He's obviously lost a step. Evander Kane is having a good year this year, but it's a contract year. I wouldn't re-sign him. I don't like his game. Matt Molson has never recovered after not being John Tavares' line mate. He has struggled mightily in Buffalo. Zemgus Girgensons is a nice third line player. You know, where's your Malkin? Where's your Kessel? You know, where's your Panarin? Where's that third threat? And a 1-2 punch of Jack Eichel and Ryan O'Reilly. No disrespect to Ryan O'Reilly. A, he's not a $7.5 million player. B, I just don't know if he's that. He's a nice third threat if you have a good second threat. But they just don't really seem to have it, these Buffalo Sabres. And you got a rookie coach. Like I said, at what point does Phil Housley take a bullet for this team? Second year? Third year? Unless they go through some drastic changes, to me, this is a front office issue, not a coaching issue. I don't think that Kyle Okposo is going to be completely useless. He's a worthy 20-goal scorer, but he never seems to win you games. You know, he never seems to be that threat. Like, oh, you got to cover Okposo. He always seems to do just enough not to be sent down a line or so, or benched. but never enough to really kind of put you over the top and win a game for you or take over a game for you. He's just not that type of player. And I'm not saying every player has to be, Jonathan Taves or a Patrick Kane or a Crosby or a Tavares or you go down the list, you name it. I'm not saying he's got to be that, but at $6 million, you kind of gotta be a little bit closer to that than what you actually are, which is not somebody who can take over a game. Now I know he's had some personal injury type things going on. He was hospitalized. It was serious for a while. I wish him nothing but the best. But outside of 1 year with the Islanders, he never really had that put a scare into the rest of the league sort of a time. I'll give you the screenshot here so you guys can see. When you look at this team, look at all the UFAs that are coming after this season. The whole bottom half of their roster is either unrestricted or restricted. Sam Reinhart's been a huge disappointment too, though, hasn't he? Where the hell has Sam Reinhart been? My goodness. Huge disappointment. He was a high draft pick. He was supposed to be one of your guys. Where the hell has Sam Reinhart been? It's crazy the amount of prospects that can become underachievers that can completely kill a coach or a manager. Completely kill a coach or a manager. Let's see his numbers here. First year in the league, 15-16. He scored 23 goals, 19 assists, 42 points. 17 goals, 30 assists for 47 points. He's 2 goals, 3 assists, 5 points into this year. I don't know. I just remember Sam Reinhart being projected much higher than that. These are great third line player numbers, slow second line player numbers, and I thought for sure he was a top 6 forward. It's funny, as a younger player in the league right now, you really don't get as much of a chance to prove yourself as you used to. Teams used to be able to hold on to you for 3, 4, 5, 6 years before you really had to absolutely prove yourself. Now, if you don't have it together with inside your entry-level contract, which is typically 3 years, no good, man. No good. And you see it all the time. Look at Nail Yakupov. I still think Nail Yakupov has like a 30. All that potential. How could you? He's no Alexander Daig. He's still sticking around, granted. I think he could become a good 20-goal scorer one day. But if you told me, if you came back from the future right now and you say 2 years from now he starts lighting it up, 30, 40-goal scorer, I'm not going to be surprised. I don't see it in his play right now. But I wouldn't be surprised. The skill set is definitely there. The potential for that is definitely there. He just never really seemed to get up to it. Teams in the salary cap era now don't have a chance, no matter what kind of a pick you are anymore, to allow you to blossom. I mean, I hate to continue to bring up Islanders here, but look at Josh Bailey. Josh Bailey took years to put it together. I mean, years to figure it out. And he's only now finally paying off dividends. If Josh Bailey was in the league now and was 3 years into the career that he had 3 years ago, remember Josh got sent down when he could, when they can send him down without losing him to waivers. If Josh was in the league now, he would have been a project for other teams, which is what happens. St. Louis picks up Yakupov as a project. Svensson, Pjarvi, they picked up a couple of Edmonton Oilers as a project, actually. We see the projects all around. They're everywhere. But this Buffalo Sabre team, it's a shame because I like Phil Housley, and you always got to take that first job as a National Hockey League coach, but I don't see this ending well for that. I could see you guys kind of checking in, so thanks for that. Really appreciate that. Numbers are always been, we're almost close to 300 likes on Facebook, 300 follows on Facebook. Those are huge numbers for being barely a month into this. I mean, really, really huge numbers. So To all of you guys who share the shows, you know, it takes 2 seconds to click that share button on Facebook. It takes 2 seconds to hit a like on the YouTube. Thank you for that. Thanks for spreading the word. That's how we're growing. Rate and review if you're listening on the podcast. And HockeyTalkShow.com has all the information on how you can consume our shows. I can't guarantee a weekend show. We've been solid at doing a show a day, every day during the week. I know we'll do some weekend stuff. If any huge news breaks over the weekend, we're always, we could turn this on in 2 seconds and start going and taking your calls and your tweets and your emails and everything. So I know that'll definitely happen, but we'll see if we have time to sneak in a weekend show here this weekend. If not, we'll be back on Monday. Again, rate and review those podcasts. Share it on the social media channels if you can. And don't be afraid to use that number during the shows at any time at 631-438-1768. A lot of hockey action tonight. Can't wait to see the games. Going to definitely check out Washington-Pittsburgh. Going to be watching the Islanders and the Dallas Stars. And we'll be back here Monday talking about everything going on in the National Hockey League. Fun show today. I will see you guys.